Senatus Academiae Krakowiensis Andrzej Frycz Modrzewski dedicate ex decreto de die nona mensis Marti anno bis millesimo decimo sexto virum doctissimum clarissimumque Philippum Georgium Zimbardo quin orbe terrarum eruditissimus in studiis boni et mali ac precipue forum originis atque generationis conditionum estimatum est. Qui plus quam quinquaginta libros centenasque disputationes conscripisit. Qui ut libri psychologia atque vita unde viginties reediti multarum psychologarum generationum preceptoris con auctor peritissimus in psychologia et vita appaluit. Qui timiditatis clinicum condidit. Qui Americane psychologorum associationi presedit. Qui constanter se heroem prestare adhortat, atque ideas heroice imaginationis propositi in Polonia et mundo propagate pronuntiat. Qui Polones scientiae progressum adiuvat. Qui preses fundationis Zimbardo Youth Center in Polonia et Heroic Imagination Project in civitatibus federatis functus. Cooperationi horum institutionum cum Andrzej Frycz Modrzewski Academia Krakowiensis promovende operam prosuit professoris honoris causa titulo ornavimus. In eiusque rei atque facti fidem hasce litteras nostre Academiae sigillo maiori munitas corroborare iussimus dedimus Cracovie die septima decima mensis Marti anno bis millesimo decimo sexto. Georgius Malec ad tempus Academiae Krakowiensis Andrzej Frycz Modrzewski rector magistrus. Dear Professor, the floor is yours.
Before I begin my talk, I want to thank the Rector, the Dean, the Rector staff for this incredible honor. It is the beginning of a new collaboration between your Academy and our Heroic Imagination Project, which we hope will take off in not only in the university but in Krakow. Also, I will talk later about it was mentioned, our Zimbardo Youth Center in Nikishovitz. We want to have a youth center in Krakow as well for young people. And we want to use the psychologists at this university to be trainers, to use our information, our ideas in all the schools in the whole Krakow region. And so hopefully in the future Krakow Academy will be the center of creating new Polish heroes. And so this is part of what I want to talk about today. Usually when there's a speech by a visiting professor, it usually sounds like a cheerleader at a sports event. But I want to attempt something radical. I want to inspire each and every student and every one of their teachers to start a social revolution. As I now complete my 57th year of teaching psychology, I'm ever more grateful for the unique opportunity we teachers have to learn from and share in the youthful exuberance of our students. Each year that I have taught, I actually get younger. Something happened here. No, it just got mixed up. Each year that I have taught, I've actually become younger in spirit, though older in age. I am now a ripe 83 years young, because every year I'm able to draw on the energy of my new class of students. Each year I drink from their fountain of youth, and in exchange I give them my fountain of wisdom. Teachers who inspire their students are what I call everyday heroes, who should be treasured by every society, as well as their parents, who have sacrificed much for the well-being and success of their children, even though some of their children may seem as if they have been on an endless carousel as students permanently in residence. But now for most of them, the ride is over as they become independent drivers of their own life. And hopefully your students will become the leaders of their community and also ultimately of this great nation of Poland. So I wish here for all the students who soon will be graduating and those who are early in their educational path, a happy life, a long and healthy life, and one that contributes to the collective good. To help you on your new journey, I will lay out 7 paths to personal happiness and collective well-being based on insights that I have gained from my long history of research on many different topics in psychology. Research on evil, on heroism, as was mentioned earlier, Manuel Dacio, on time perspective, on shyness, group dynamics, and the power of social situations to transform individuals for better and sometimes for worse. So I've studied all these different things because these are part of the human condition. So I see something happening and I ask a question, why? Why does this happen like this? And then I begin to do it instead of just, philosophers just ask the question, psychologists try to do research to answer the question. So here are Dr. Z's 7 paths for fulfilling life, both personally and communally. The first is, learn to use time wisely and well. Time is our most precious asset, never to be wasted, and always to be used mindfully by balancing its 3 main energy sources. The first one is being well-grounded in a positive past. The past, if it's positive, links you to your family, to your identity, and to your culture. Secondly, being well-centered and open to what is best in each moment of your life, which means being open to the power of hedonic present. That connects you to the energy flow of the now moment. And third, always being motivated to succeed to the full extent of your ability in a hope-filled future. That in turn enables you to soar to new destinations. If you do that, you have what we call a temporal balance. And with that balance is a new flexibility to adapt to the many challenges you will face in your life. Respect and learn from the past, yours and the past of other people, especially your wise elders. Selectively immerse yourself in a present orientation that fosters closer human connection and compassion, while opening you to appreciate nature and culture more fully because they are in the present. Use its pleasures as self-reward for your hard-earned successes you have won, that you will achieve by being future-oriented. Finally, there's never enough time in our fast-paced life. We must learn how to become time managers. In that role, we must learn new ways to make time. First, make time for your family, make time for your friends, and make time for personal fun. Remember, time can never be found. It can never be lost, and once lost, can't be found. And time wasted can never be saved. A life well lived is one without regrets, what you could have done or what you should have done. But take joy in each day that you have fully embraced. Secondly, of my 7 Dr. Z's paths to happiness, love being immersed in a lifetime of learning. For several decades as students, you have been living a rather privileged life. Students in every country live a privileged life. We allow you to go to school without having to work very hard, and your life is filled with entitlement, being free from the many social obligations that your elders face, your parents. In order to think, we give you opportunity to learn, to reason, to question, and to create. It is now time for you to more fully appreciate that gift by continuing to be a studious student for the rest of your life. So when you graduate, you're no longer a student, but you are always a student in training. As you do, in Life 2.0, you will add on the new commitment of making your community and your nation better in every way that you can. That is your obligation. Finally, for me, my continual joy in becoming a somewhat ever older student, every year I'm a slightly older student, means that I am always filled with curiosity and wonder. I am always asking why. I'm always trying to discover how. I want to challenge ignorance, and I demand evidence for all assertions by so-called true believers. So when somebody tells me something, I say, how do you know? What is the evidence? I don't take anything because somebody says I'm an authority. The authority is always evidence. Third, nurture your passions. Most of us if we are future-oriented, every day we make a to-do list. Now we do it on the computer. I used to do it longhand. But this to-do list is your daily work deeds. How about making a second private list of what it is that you really want to do? What is that you really would like to do? Not that you are obligated to do. Discover what you really feel passionate about and make that an essential focus and a new energy source in your life. Doing so means that passion endeavors will become a source of personal pride, which will help you guarantee that your life will never be meaningless when you look back on your life when you're older. Sadly, a great many economically successful American business people have reported in national surveys that these are middle managers, in between top manager and above foreman, that when they look back on their life, when they think of their life, they think of their life as empty and meaningless. So these are men 50 to 60 years old, and it's almost too late to change. But their life has no significant value. That is horrible. So you never want that to be true of you. Why did they believe that they wasted the best years of their life and were feeling empty and meaningless? The simple but sad truth is that they had earlier chosen to trade away the pleasures of being with family, of being with friends, and living a compassionate life to make money, for material possessions, and for social status. So that's the trade-off too many people make. You give up enjoying your friends, your family, nature, culture, new ideas, to make money, to have many possessions, 2 cars, big house, and to have status. So everybody looks up at you. But then you look back at yourself and say, it all was worthless. So we never want that to be your life, because it's selling your soul to the devil. The fourth of my 7 Dr. Z's paths is transform shyness into social engagement. I've studied shyness for many years. I was actually the first researcher to study shyness in adolescents and adults. Before I began to study shyness in 1972, right after I did the Stanford Prison experiment, the only people who studied shyness were people who developmental psychologists and elementary school teachers. And it was as if once a child got into middle school, they were no longer shy. Just the opposite. That's when shyness erupts. So practice becoming the socially engaging host at life's parties instead of resigning yourself to be its perpetually reluctant, shy guest. Just as we all have a choice of being a leader or a follower in every group we're in, we each choose whether or not to adopt a shy persona or a more outgoing one. Shyness is a self-imposed social restriction that limits others from having access to your inner strength and your virtues because you have created a social barrier around you. My metaphor for shyness is that it's a self-imposed psychological prison. And in that prison, you give up freedom of association and freedom of speech. Those are the most important aspects of every democracy. People live and die in order to protect free speech and the ability of every citizen to associate with whoever he or she wants. And shy people give those up. But it is your own thinking and feeling that makes it so, not any natural law of nature. No one makes you shy. Curiously, you are your own shyness maker. Each shy person is his or her own prisoner and guard. So you learn from a very young age to say, I can't do it because I am shy. And then you keep saying that, then other people say, this is a shy person. But shy people create their own prison that they enter. One unexpected joy of advancing students and faculty when you take a new job is that when you go to a new place, nobody knows you're shy. You don't have a sign saying I'm shy. When you have been in an old place, people get to know you as the shy person. But now when you go to a new place, you have the freedom to be whatever you want. And I hope you will use that freedom to be an extroverted, outgoing host at your party. So you greet people, hug people, dance with people, and like my wonderful hero in the Greek author Nikos Kazantzakis, absorber of the Greek. So to me, that is the model of the outgoing person. The fifth thing of the 7 is think about how you will remake your image. And this is true of people at any age. We all live a life where we become comfortable. We do the same thing every day. We have almost the same agenda. You look at your to-do list now, it's the same as last year. I think it is time to trade in your familiar, comfortable habits for personally challenging, novel adventures that can liberate you from the boredom of being predictable. Nothing is worse than you have a friend and you know exactly what they're going to say, exactly what they're going to do, exactly how they're going to dress, and they know the same about you. Boring, boring, boring. From time to time, consider violating expectations. An expectation is a belief in what you should do or what you should be. Or change the things you do daily that you do routinely and you do it without thinking, mindlessly. To rise above the mundane, the obvious, it is time to take more calculated risks, to learn from your mistakes, to try harder and think wiser the next time around. A simple solution for avoiding cognitive dissonance. So people don't want to take chances because you might make a mistake. What's wrong? When you make a mistake, you practice saying, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Let's move on. We'll try harder next time. A life lived in a safe lane is a slow, boring life that allows others to go past you by taking a chance that will get them to the goal sooner so that they can start a new adventure before you have finished your old one. 6, treasure becoming an upstander, not a passive bystander. One source of negative group power is the persuasive pressure of social norms over each of us not to take action in emergency situations, not to get involved, to mind our own business, to do nothing when we know we should do something. Sadly, many mothers are the enemy of heroism, because mothers say, mind your own business, don't get involved. You have to say, Mama, suppose it was me hurt. Wouldn't you want somebody to come to help me? And then, obviously, humanity is my business, not me. I'm not my own business. So most of us, when we witness examples of bystander apathy, when you see somebody hurt, everybody looks around and no one helps, we say, I would have gotten involved. However, it turns out when you're in that situation, the social norms are so powerful, you look around and nobody does anything. The norm is, there's like a sign, do nothing. And so the more people present, paradoxically, the less likely anyone is to help. That's known as the bystander effect. So it means many of us give into that social norm of being helpless, mindlessly passive bystanders. We don't take action when we know we could and we should. Every one of us has been in that situation or school where a bully was treating someone unfairly and unjustly. Bullying creates not only a victim, but in every case where there's bullies, from primary school, secondary school, high school, college, and now bullies are a big problem in business. Bullies create passive bystanders. It is very rare anyone challenges the bully, and sadly it's very rare that people that when your friend is being bullied, it's rare that you even go to your friend and say, I'm sorry. That you pretend that it's not happening, and so it makes it even worse for your friend who is being bullied. Bullying creates not only a victim, but the evil of inaction. There's two kinds of evil. The evil of action, doing bad things, and the evil of inaction, not doing the right thing when you know you could. It is time to change that. Practice being a social deviant in small ways to experience the power that others have over you. So, what social norms do is social norms tell us what is right to do, what is not right to do. And after a while, it becomes automatic. You don't even think about it. So, the way you dress, the kind of music you like, how you carry your books, sometimes even how you talk, you think is yours. We call it my taste. But in fact, it's much more likely all of those things are what your friends do. And it's what you do in order to be accepted and liked by your friends. Students a decade ago were very different than students now. Students when I started were different than students a decade ago or now. In the way they looked, the way they dressed, their social habits. And each one says, "Oh, this is my taste." No, it's their taste. When questioned why you were doing something strange, so for example, I tell my students, put a black square on your head or circle black on your nose. And when people look at you, they say, "What is that?" You say, "It's this black square." Don't bother. They say, "Take it off." They get crazy. They say, I say, "No, I'm just trying something." You don't see it. So, but now you realize people want you to be what they want you to be. A simple thing like a black dot, where again you could just go like this and erase it. If you could keep it on one day without giving into the temptation to erase it, you suddenly have new power. Power over your friends who want you to be what they want to be. So I give my class, I always emphasize, practice being a positive social deviant. Do something that violates your self-esteem and see how much pressure people put on you, especially your parents, especially your relatives, especially your girlfriend or boyfriend, and even your ordinary friends. And they do it, so all you say, "I just felt like doing it," it's no big deal. So if you can resist the pressure imposed by your friends and family and strangers, not to get rid of it, you really have a new sense of inner power of one over the many. So we should say all examples of bystanders, as soon as one person intervenes to help, within seconds a second person comes, immediately. Because the first person changes the norm from do nothing to do something. And so what do we say? Be the one. Be the one that is willing to break the norm, that everybody's doing nothing, and once you do something, it's a new norm. Do something. And now you become what we call an everyday hero. You take a little action. Now, of course, we teach you in our program, in our hero program, you analyze the situation. You don't intervene if it's dangerous, but you call the police. You always do something, but you always do wise and effective action. Also, if you do this deviant exercise, as I said, you become aware that your personal taste, values, attitudes are really based on conforming to what your friends are doing. And you get rewarded for imitating them. Too often, we go along with our reference group, even when we know they're doing something wrong or immoral, or simply stupid. We go along to get along. We go along doing what they want us to do in order to get along, to be accepted, to liked, to be evaluated, to be part of the group. In many cases, we know in the extreme, young people, mostly guys, but girls as well, join gangs. And many of these gangs are destructive. The initiation into the gang is offered to beat up or kill someone, some random person, or to take drugs, or to do sex, whatever. And it's so important for you to be part of the group that once you step across and agree to be initiated into that group, then you end up doing terrible things that in many cases end up getting you in jail. Value your independence over conformity, always. And last for me, the most important is part 7, becoming an everyday hero in training. Finally, it is time to start what I call a new social revolution by becoming an active social change agent, prepared to change the world for the better, each day in some way, by standing up, speaking out, and taking wise and effective action in challenging life situations. You will commit to do the right thing when others are doing the wrong thing, and more often than not, other people are doing the no thing. You will make a commitment to challenge all evil in whatever form it takes, doing so with moral courage linked to righteous integrity. You will do so fully aware of potential risks and costs. To do a heroic deed, there's always a chance. In the extreme, you could die, but you could get hurt, or one kind of hero is a whistleblower. You see this corruption, you see this fraud, and you report it to the authorities. The authorities don't want to hear that because they're making money from it, and often you will lose your job or not get promoted. So again, to be more effective, instead of being a solo whistleblower, you organize other people to share your point of view, and together you challenge the authority. Because then it's a point of view. When you do it alone, the authorities dismiss you as a fanatic. When you do it together, it's a point of view that in every society must be respected. Let the most valued private virtues of compassion and empathy be your guiding light. But let readiness to engage in everyday heroic action be your daily goal and your most respected civic virtue. So there are many programs now around the world, online and other places, stimulated by the Dalai Lama, who promotes the idea of learn how to be compassionate toward others, toward the self. Be empathic. Try to understand other people's suffering. My feeling is that's the beginning. But it's only the beginning, because those are private virtues. Those are compassion, those are motivations, those are feelings. Unless it is transformed into action, nothing changes. So heroic action makes the world better by your transforming your empathy for other people, your compassion for other people, into an effective action. Develop a personal code of honor that you're always willing to share with others. Heroism can be developed, can be taught, and can be trained, just like other characteristics like assertiveness, resilience, and mindfulness. Heroism is acting on behalf of others in need or in defense of a moral cause, despite being aware that there's potential risks and costs to you. The interesting thing is, because the old notion of heroes were Agamemnon and Achilles, samurai warriors, always men killers that were bigger than life. My new notion is, no, heroism involves daily deeds of acts of kindness. It's sociocentric. It means in every situation you're in, you're focused on others. The enemy of heroism is what? Is egocentrism. If you focus on yourself, you're not noticing. Others are sad, others are crying, others are lonely. So egocentrism, pessimism, and cynicism are the enemies of heroism. And unfortunately, in my different programs around the world, Hungary is the most pessimistic, cynical country in the universe. Everything you say, people say, I doubt it, it can't be. And then we do it. And they say, well, I thought it could be, now it is. But again, it's really a consequence of 40 years of totalitarian communism, 10 years of Nazi fascism, that certainly the elders have become pessimistic, that they don't believe things could change, because they say, yeah, it could go back. We saw it. So people lived through the worst of those totalitarian eras. And pessimism, cynicism, doubtfulness is almost part of their thinking. And we want to change that to say, no. That was then, this is now. Now we have the power as individuals and especially as groups to make a difference, to change the way the world is in Hungary, in Budapest, in Krakow, in Poland, and in America. You'll be more likely to know someone in need if you develop the daily habit of opening yourself to other people by always noticing what people are doing and imagining. One way to do so each day is try to make other people feel special, respected, and valued. So again, I give my students an exercise. This week, every day, learn a new person's name, remember the name, learn something about them, what they do, what they value, and give them a justifiable compliment. When you do, people say, you make my day. People smile. You know it worked because they smile. And you realize how rare it is, especially in Poland, for people to give compliments. We don't do it. Why? It's awkward. Because you're not sure what will people say. People always, if the compliment is justified, will always respect it. And so you start with an external compliment, what a beautiful scarf, it's really, really interesting, something about an interesting dress, where did you get it? But then you go from the external to the internal and say, I really like what you said about that. It's really fascinating. It's intriguing. It made me think. So you go from external compliments, which are partly superficial, but still it's a way to begin, to internal compliments about what people are saying, thinking, and doing. And once you practice as a habit, you do it every day, then it becomes automatic. And you know what? You make the world better. People like to be around. And you begin with people who are service people, to the bus driver, to people in the cafeteria who serve you. Instead of taking them for granted as if they are functionaries, they are people doing a job, and you respect it. In San Francisco, which is for me, one of the best cities in the world, we have a terrible problem. huge number of homeless people. Tens of thousands of people live on the street. And they come to San Francisco because the weather is good, unlike in the Midwest or in the East Coast where you have a freezing winter. But it's many old people, many veterans of wars, sometimes young women even with children. And it's really, really very sad. And they're also beggars, meaning they are put in the position of saying, could you give me something, mister? And so every day I decide I'm going to give $1 or some money. But before I give the money, what do? I say, hello, I'm Phil Zimbardo. What's your name? And they'll say Jenny or Bobby or Miss. And I say, I'm sorry you're down on your luck. I give them the money. I say, I wish it could be more. And then I pat them on the back or shit. And suddenly they speak a big smile because what I've done is made them someone without a home rather than a homeless person. The same message is for migrants. Migrants are what? Migrants are people who are suffering in Syria, in Turkey, around the world, escaping poverty, war, terrorism, and are creating problems in other countries. But we have to remember they are people who are suffering, who are trying to get a better life. In America, every single person in America is the child of a migrant. My family comes from Sicily. The Sicilians migrated in the turn of the century. About 2 million Sicilians migrated, many to New York. And my grandfather was a barber. My other grandfather was a shoemaker. They had no education. My father went to elementary school and then stopped. But the point is, where the society gives you opportunity, and the opportunity is only with education. So education, that's how we transform the world. That I am here today only because I'm more educated than my father, my grandfathers, and hopefully my children will carry on, as I hope all of you will. So essentially, by doing this, you become a hero in training. Also remember that when people organize in action networks, they carry out the most effective heroism, not acting as solo warriors. So learn to persuade others to share your vision of what needs to be done. Assemble your friends, colleagues, and families into what we call a hero squad. Challenge the evils of inaction, such as bullying, gender violence, discrimination, corruption, fraud, slave labor, and sex trafficking, which are going on now around the world. And also oppose the more persuasive evil of inaction, such as most governments and business around the world ignore the threats of the devastating consequences of global climate change that threaten your future. I recently was in Tahiti, the most beautiful place in the world, and as we're going, the guide says, this island, this island, this island, in 5 years will disappear. The water is rising, cannot be stopped, and people will lose their homes, their farms, everything. And the French government, for which Tahiti is a protector, is doing nothing. We now know that your city of Krakow has an especially difficult toxic atmosphere that needs to be reduced and corrected as soon as possible. I think also Sosnovia. However, I just learned yesterday that the government funds that are allocated to help change the air for the better in your city has now been taken away and given to another source that has nothing to do with improving air quality. I think you have to ask why and demand that that not be allowed to happen. In Poland, you are privileged to have a long history of wonderful heroes that you can emulate. I'm going to go very quickly. Among to help my country to win the Revolutionary War in 1776. As a little kid, I couldn't understand. Here are these two guys, Tadeusz Kościuszko and Kazimierz Pulaski, who came to America in 1776. It wasn't even America. It was a bunch of people fighting the big British Empire, which was the most powerful empire in the world, and winning. This little American colony won the War of Independence in 1776 with the help of two Polish heroes. And in America, both of them are honored. Every year they become honorary Americans. October 11th, we celebrate Pulaski Day. There's many roads, highways named after them even to this day. More recently, on 13 April 2013, we celebrated the 70th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Prominent among the many young rebels against the evil Nazis were Mordecai Anelowitz, Marek Elderman, Simcha Kazak, among many, many others. And of course, you know the legacy left by the heroic deeds, the amazing Jan Karski, Emmanuel Ringelbaum, and Raphael Lemkin. If you don't know about Lemkin, you really should. Lemkin was a Polish lawyer who created the term genocide. Genocide means the racial destruction of another people by a nation, not by individuals, but by a nation. So it obviously came out of the Nazi desire to exterminate the Jews. And so he organized, Lemkin, the first international tribunal to put national systems of evil on trial. Before him, there was no way in the judiciary to put a nation on trial, only individuals. So the tribunal of Nazi killers, Nazi murderers, Nazi leaders was the product of Raphael Lemkin, and he has a foundation. I was privileged recently to spend a week in Oswiecim, the town by Auschwitz, along with, I was a psychologist, there were sociologists, political scientists, historians, and what we did is we taught 20 people from different NGOs around the world how to teach their students about genocide, about mass destruction. And for me, it was a great honor. And of course, there's my favorite ordinary hero, Irina Senderova, who organized a network of 20 friends who worked diligently every day for a year to save 2,500 children from sure death in the Warsaw Ghetto. Many of you know that what the Nazis had done was put 440,000 Jews from all over Poland into this 100 square block ghetto, and they had a diet of 120 calories a day, starvation diet. The idea was children and old people would die from starvation, and then everybody who survived, they would shipped to concentration camps. When she discovered that, she first had to persuade the chief rabbi to persuade the people to give their children to a Catholic woman, a Catholic worker, which they finally did. And they smuggled out 2,500 children. Interestingly, though, to safety, those children had children and grandchildren, and now more than 10,000 Jewish people around the world owe their life to this incredible hero. Interestingly, of the 20 people in her group, 19 were women. So this now, when we talk about classic heroes, it's always men warriors, but when we talk about heroes who are in social networks, it's always women. Because women live in social networks, men are lone's. And so this is where men have to learn from women. I also recently discovered, actually just the other day, that there were 7 heroic Polish women who helped defeat communism in Poland by being the underground activists of the Solidarity movement. When Solidarity leader and hero Lech Walesa was silenced by foreign oppressors. But these women carried on, and there's a book called, by an American author, Shana, S-H-A-N, Penn, P-E-N-N, and it's solid, women heroes of solidarity. So it's time for me to conclude, to wrap up my sermon and for you to move on. One last message. The challenges before you are many. The opportunities are endless, all waiting your solutions. For the students here, your youthful energy, and most of all, your glowing, growing idealism, ready to be infused in a new kind of smart and wise social activism that can reshape your society in the next decades. Poland needs a new, vibrant optimism to replace the old pessimism and cynicism that are the enduring remnants of too many Poles wear after being subjected to the soul-deadening domination by fascism and the brutal totalitarian regimes of Soviet communism for endless decades. Your country, your elders, we need you. You meaning the Polish youth vanguard, to lead a new kind of heroic revolution. We will be counting on you to be champions of peace and prosperity in the coming years. We count on you all here, and all of your colleagues everywhere else, to be aware of, to be alert, and to challenge the gradual transformation of righteous democracy into the domination of totalitarian-like government policy. Poland has bravely opposed evil from external enemies for decades. I mean, all of your heroes are opposing external enemies. However, there's a new problem, is that the enemies are now internal. It's actually easier to oppose them than to challenge us. So before concluding, I'm pleased to share with you briefly 3 projects that I am personally proud have started in different regions of Poland, and we hope all of those are going to be replicated and extended here in Krakow. And I'm just instigated. I work with amazing men and women that I will mention. First, in the ancient town of Nikishovitz, that you know is the center of coal mining for generations in the Katowice province. Recently, they've exhausted almost all of the coal. Many of the miners for whom that was their identity had no more identity, had no more money, often got drunk, and it was an unpleasant place for children to go home after school. So along with a number of other people in that community, we created an after-school program, which is very typical in America, but apparently doesn't happen in Poland. A place where teens can go after school, a safe place, an interesting place, where they can learn new things they don't learn in school. They can learn design, they can learn art, they can learn English. We have computers available, they can play games. And again, it all starts with girls, and every girl has to bring the boys, so now there's boys there as well as girls. And then the place is, during the day, is available for parents, for business groups, for anybody to come and work. It's been called the Zimbardo Youth Center, ZIC, or Zimbardo Center. It's been functioning for about 4 years. It is serving not only, as I said, youth, but many in the community who are holding meetings in our facilities. The program is led Local Initiatives Factory Association. I can't possibly pronounce that name. So the Field Association is headed by Valdemir Jean, who's here. Valdemir, where are you? Back there. And Anna Solniska coordinates the activities at the center. I just visited yesterday, and it's just heartwarming to be there. And again, we need that here, and every city should have such a program. We are trying to raise funds to continue and expand this program, and we want to use it as a model, as I said, to create similar after-school programs in every city throughout Poland. So if you know anybody who has money who wants to contribute, we're thinking Podronka ought to be giving us money to do this, as well as IKEA has given us furniture and materials. We hope to get their involvement as well. As you all know only too well, Poland is in the midst of considerable political turmoil that's creating internal enemies that replace decades of opposing external enemies. There are strong divisions of opinion on many, many issues. One way to deal with such divisiveness is what? To use democratic, open discussions with all opposing sides who are given an opportunity to express their views and values publicly, rather than with rumors. How can that be achieved? One of my contributions is developing the concept of an academic center at a Polish university devoted to resolving such conflicts. Imagine a place where a number of experts in social science, business, and government, military affairs could share their unique knowledge and viewpoints openly with a national audience. So instead of rumors, this is what you put it out together and everybody knows. What is it you think? What is it that you think? That conflict resolution center could also include staff skilled in dealing with family conflicts, community conflicts, national, international. So it would be a center of conflict resolution reduction. It's not an idealistic vision. It has become a reality. In Czechov, in southern Poland, my colleague, Dr. Matchov Wilsonovsky, is the CEO, and I am the senior advisor. Interestingly, Matchok has arranged for a national debate on April 21st in Warsaw. We hope will be televised everywhere, including people from many different political persuasions, as well as many experts. So this will be the first time that I know that political, social conflict will be part of an open, hopefully intellectual discussion. I'm honored and pleased that this new center has been named the Zimbardo Center for Conflict Resolution. And again, we hope to get funding to bring in scholars from other nations to spend a sabbatical there. I will do my best to get outside funds and add skilled staff as well. Finally, what I'm most proud of in all my Polish-related activities, and I love Poland. I've been coming here for more than 30 years. My publisher, PWN, publishes all my books, as you know. Psychology in Life is the only textbook used in all introductory psychology courses. So everybody who takes psychology takes Zimbardo. It's not true anywhere else. In America, there are many, many competing books. So many people who take psychology don't even know about me until they get interested in prisons. And I should say, I think afterwards I will be available for signing some of Peter Yuen's books. I'm most proud of my Polish-related activities of the Polish branch of the Heroic Imagination Project that was mentioned earlier in the Laudatio. I've created what I imagine could be a revolution in education from primary school to university level by teaching students how to understand human nature, their own human nature and everybody else's. My team and I have devised a number of lessons using basic social psychology and cognitive psychology. We organize these 6 lessons under the heading of Understanding Human Nature. What makes it special, each lecture is organized around videos. Children live in a visual world, most of us do. So instead of lecturing and writing on the board, the teacher shows a video and says, question 1, what were the people in the video doing? Then question 2, what would you do? And instead of the whole class discussing, the students are organized in pairs, always a boy and a girl, and they talk among themselves, they write down the answers, and it goes this way. Show a video, ask a question, students interact with each other. And it just moves very fast. And each of our programs, we have one on the bystander, how to transform passive bystanders, active heroes, how do you transform prejudice and discrimination into acceptance and understanding. And each of our programs is culturally relevant. The people in each nation who are doing this obviously translate the material, but put in culturally relevant examples. So all of our lessons have been translated, all 6 lessons are translated in Polish, with Polish subtitles on our videos as well. The program really involves training teachers in how to administer each lesson, training professional trainers how to go to schools and deliver this kind of knowledge. Of course, we also want to have our programs work in corporations and institutions as well. Because we're scientists, we want to assess the impact. Does it work? Does it change attitudes and values of students and teachers? Does it reduce bullying? Does it increase the likelihood boys will continue to go to school rather than drop out and play video games? Our team in Poland has recently collaborated with similar programs in Hungary, Italy, and Portugal, and we've just submitted a huge Erasmus grant, which if we get, part of it will be centered here at this university, and will also give us money to develop new programs. I'm delighted to be able to identify as the head and president of the Polish branch of the Heroic Imagination Project, Professor Agnieszka Wilczewska. Will you stand? Who is now on the staff of your great Krakow University. We've also worked closely over the past 5 years to build this program on a silent, vibrant foundation, able to be delivered to schools in every Polish community soon, but we need money. So once we get money from private donors and institutional, we can support this new program. Also, we need support from the new Minister of Education. Sadly, every 2 years I go visit the Minister of Education in Warsaw, and so she always says, yes, we will support you, and then they get kicked out, the new party comes in, so I go next year to the new minister and say, give us the money now, no promises. So I also want to welcome the hundreds of teachers from all over Poland who are present today. I know it's not just students and people from Krakow University, but from many other institutions, and I welcome you. I hope to meet you personally soon. And we hope you will join our project. Lastly, in addition to Agnieszka Wilczewska, Agnieszka Konik, who are teachers and researchers at this university, who are helping to make our project vibrant. So we're excited knowing that many university teachers will soon put into practice in their school these activities of how to make every child think that he or she is an everyday hero in training. And by doing so, Polish youth will stand up tall, speak out against injustice, and do daily deeds of kindness and compassion in their families,